Very well. Are you ready?
Yes,
Parfait.
finally.
C'est bon, merci. Au revoir. Hi, I'm the pine.
And I'm the water. Distracted water. And you're listening to A Cup of Tea.
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
While sharing a cup of tea with you.
Look at that. Almost.
Mhm.
First try. Let's do it. Today we are drinking just regular, easy green tea. Jinx.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are.
Just because that's what the water had.
Yeah, it was my breakfast tea.
So here we are at the end of the road.
This is our last show.
Only sex-wise for now this year.
For
I
this
don't know.
season.
Yeah, probably not. I feel like we'll talk more about sex later on. But just on this rant.
On this special occasion
that
of
we've
5
been,
episodes talking about sex stuff.
Somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
welcome to the conclusion.
Yeah. It was very interesting to listen to the first episode of the sex stuff with the sex room.
Yeah.
You know, building a sex room for couples. That TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was so interesting because it was kind of different, almost opposite from the previous episode of
like the Against the
Sexual Revolution.
Yes, very different. And in a way, it actually made me feel like the How to Build a Sex Room is kind of like the theory.
Mm.
And then in practice, at least in my experience, I feel more like on the case against the sexual revolution. I don't know if that makes sense.
In what way do you feel more like your case is against the sexual revolution?
I guess this is I don't want to get too into it because it's right at the beginning of the episode, but I feel like there's this sort of idealized version, kind of because we were talking about this book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution by Louise Perry last week, because she has an interview with Ali
Abdal. That was not last week's episode, was it?
Maybe I'm screwing it up.
I think that was the one before last week. It's somewhere in there. In the last 5 episodes. You can find it.
Yes. And she was saying how there's this ideal of how women should behave since now she's sexually liberated and could, quote unquote, in her words, have sex like a man. And so in a way, I feel like there's this ideal kind of shown in How to Build a Sex Room where, oh yes, you can be free and explore and uninhibited and whatever, which is not bad. And it's not necessarily that I'm like against it, I feel like. But I do think that my experience, at least in the past couple of days, has been more on the side, specifically because of something that we're going to talk about a little later on, has been more like on that feeling that she shares about, no, maybe women, like the average of women want to have a relationship, not just casual sex. And this culture of having sex like a man is actually doing a disservice. I'm like, maybe I do feel like that. Which, I mean, on another hand, it's like 2 completely different sort of moments in the like timeline of life, I guess, in a way, because she, like, the How to Build a Sex Room is a show specifically about couples.
Yeah, like established relationships.
Yes. And then this other one is more like the beginning of it, like when you're looking for a partner or something. So yeah, but that's kind of the feeling that I have right now.
Yeah. I do think that it's about different stages.
Yes.
In life.
Yeah.
And if we can like go a little bit of, because we had a very honest conversation yesterday, I feel.
We did.
And like I said something I said a thing that I hadn't said before, except to Pablo. And when I said it to Pablo, it was a very difficult conversation. But then when I said it to you, it felt more like it's okay. And I don't know if you know what the thing is.
I feel like that maybe I have a clue.
Okay.
But for the sake of the show.
No, of course, like I'm going to say it, but I just want you to start the context of that conversation and like get into what that was.
Sure. So yesterday, funnily enough, I guess, I don't know. It was funny when it happened in the moment to me because I was in a bus getting back home and I was, like sitting in the middle of the bus and there was this guy sitting like in front of me to the right on the other side of the seats, I guess. And I was just like casually going back home. And I saw him like look at me. And then he looked to the front or whatever. But he did like a double take, And then he looked at me again. And he was wearing sunglasses and I was not. So I couldn't like sneakily be like, And then I think the bus stopped or something and he changed seats to sit in front of me. And he started talking to me like, hey, how you doing? How's it going? And then in my mind, Fleabag appeared. And it was like, this doesn't happen. Like, this doesn't happen, does it? And I was like, Fleabag? Apparently it does.
That's hilarious.
And so, yeah, we started talking a little bit and everything. And he seemed kind of cute. Like, very average Canadian guy, I want to say.
What does that even look like?
I mean, to me, he looks like Linus from Linus Tech Tips.
Right, yeah.
So, that average Canadian. Following my double standard, I guess, from one of these episodes of the sex special, when I was talking about not liking older guys or the ambivalence towards them, he did look older, like late 30s.
But younger than the previous.
Yeah, younger than the previous one, for sure. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And he asked me for my number and he texted me and then we like...
He didn't ask you for your social media?
No, he didn't. He asked
me
for my number.
So then it's a Gen X, not Gen X, but then it's a Gen Z thing.
Yes.
The social media thing is a Gen Z thing.
Yeah. And we actually like talked, He asked me where I was going, what I was doing, like, what do you do for work? And I was like, I'm a producer for YouTube videos and stuff. And like I just bare minimum, answer. And then I was like, why, what do you do? Well, I'm a set decorator and la la la. And I was like, of course, very Vancouver. A video producer and a set decorator. And anyway, so yeah, then we got off the bus and he went on his way and I went on my way. And we kept texting a little bit. He's like, oh, shame that we're not going on the same bus. La la la.
Shame.
And then he texted me something about hanging out. Which I was like, I can't. Like, I really can't. I have a lot of work to do. Like, my schedule is literally full. Like, I only have time to eat and sleep apart from work this week.
Because she's leaving me.
Yes. But he was like, well, maybe if you have some time, you can come over. I'll cook you dinner and we can chat. That's what he said. Dinner and chat. And I was like, is that Canadian for Netflix and chill? Like,
might be.
Yeah. And then you said, like, we should ask him to this thing that we're going to on Friday. It might be fun. He said, no, dinner and chat. But good luck. But then I had like this feeling of, I mean, I was very, like, for the first thing I told you was like, I'm sort of scared or scared. That's the word.
Scared.
Of it being like too forward. If it's, if we go out for a drink, then, there's like that obvious thing of going a drink because it's later at night. Then there's the assumption that you're going to have sex. But if you go out for coffee, it's just coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, if we go to the thing downtown together,
oh yeah, you
reads,
thought,
right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so he said no. That was the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, to that, when you were worried that asking him out to, because we're going to a bar on Friday with other friends, and you were like, well, I feel like that kind of like sends the signal that, you know, at night drinking and then it might lead somewhere. I was like, I don't quite see it that way. If anything, I feel like you're asking him out to a place with a bunch of your friends and people that you know, and it's kind of like less pressure than a date or than drinks, because there's not going to be like a lot of talking or a lot of room for anything other than just like partying, like dancing, you know, and kind of that.
Exactly. So I don't know if it's the age thing, because I thought about it, maybe.
He wasn't down to party with us.
Yeah. So I don't know. It like the thing is, after that, and when I got home eventually, and he kept texting me about like, come over, maybe like, what are you doing tonight?
And we thought that was a little pushy.
And yes. And so that started getting me nervous. And it was a thing where, thinking back to, you know, like the stuff that you have said in pockets and some of our guests have said in pockets in a different context, but the like listening to your body.
Oh, very different context.
A very different context.
But what did your body tell you?
My body was like, okay, I'm a little turned on, but I'm also scared. Like, I'm very nervous. I'm like, I don't know if I was visibly shaking. Oh. But I was like, I don't know what to do about it. And why am I feeling like this? Why am I so worked up about this? Like,
there was a comment about you going to therapy.
Yes.
About that.
Yes.
To find out what that is about, which I think would be very good.
Yeah. And the thing I told you then was something that I had also never said out loud, or I hadn't said it to anybody, was that it's been a very long time since I've had sex with a guy. So I was like, I don't know that I want to have random sex with this person that I just met 3 hours ago. You know? So I was like, I don't know. I feel uneasy about it. And there's this dialogue in my brain that's like, but break out of your comfort zone. Sure. But there's, I think, one thing is breaking out of my comfort zone. And then another thing is this fear is like, he's going to like sell me in parts in the black market.
Really?
Yeah.
Not, because I feel like if we were in Mexico, I would agree with you. But I feel...
Which is what my cousin said too. She's like, that's Mexico talking. Stop it.
Yeah. Because I thought you were coming more from what if I'm there and I don't want to? What if I'm there and I don't like it? What if, you know, and kind of like... I thought it was more from that.
I do feel, though, that because of, like, I don't know, past experiences, that if I don't want to, then I won't have sex with a guy. Like, I'm very... The first time I did it, I was very surprised with myself. I was like, fuck, no, goodbye, thank you, bye. And so there's like that side of me when and this is something that you said later on about like your journey, and how it was like it helped you discover how you are. Right. And so in this sort of same discovering how I am, I know that I can be very straightforward in many things, but especially when it comes to this, like if I really don't want to have sex with a guy, I will actually just say it.
What if you're not sure? Because what, is the default to say no or to say yes?
The default is to say no. Because and when we were talking about this of like feeling iffy when there's experiences I feel like any girl has had when maybe a guy approaches you and he's too close and you feel like, ugh, fuck off, go away. And so those things have now made me be like, no, fuck, go away. Like, you know, so I feel good in that way. Now it's more like, I don't really, like, I am turned on, but not enough to go randomly have sex with you, you know? And also, I don't know who the fuck you are. Right. Like, I really, and it sort of took me back to the thing that we were saying in the episode about, I think it was the Louise episode, where we were asking Pablo too of the safety feeling that maybe women are looking for versus like what are men looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I do want to at least know that I'm safe.
Right.
Doing this, you know, like, because I've had like the one night stand experience before, but it's never been with a guy that I don't know at all. Like,
it's
been
usually
with
like
a friend of a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
So then that leaves me in like a safer place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's yeah, sure, I would do that. But then I don't feel okay doing this.
That remember, like, I was just watching Red Table Talk the other day, and in one of the episodes, which made me very happy because Martita's boyfriend was in it. And I had no idea it was him until he said something about Martita. And like there was a picture of him and Marta y Gareda. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's Martita's boyfriend. It was really cute. But Cherie, Trey's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who?
No.
Who's who?
No.
So Trey is Will's first son.
Oh, yeah.
With
okay.
Cherie.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So Cherie was saying something about meeting people and how the apps, the dating apps and this stuff is like, no, thank you. Like, that doesn't work for me. And how it's kind of, I don't know if she said easier or nicer or something along the lines of that, to meet people that are friends of a friend.
Yeah.
Because then you have a person that can vouch for that person.
Yes.
So that made me think of that just now.
Yeah.
And I feel like
that's why I told you should be my matchmaker. But anyway.
I gotta meet more people.
Yes.
At some point, I feel like before, when you were still very like undecided, like like not sure how to feel or how to act about it, you said something like, oh, I don't know what to do. And you said something in a Hamilton way or some Hamilton thing. And my answer in a Hamilton way was...
Oh, right. The breakthrough.
Yeah. What is it?
Think less, sex
let
more.
me give you some advice. Think less, sex more.
Yeah.
And like, that was like a great moment in our conversation.
Yes.
Because I feel like then we got talking about how, and I think this is when I was talking about my journey with sexuality, because I had like a kind of first long-term boyfriend.
We know.
Yeah. Mistakes were made, people. Mistakes were made. But we learned from those, so it's okay. But anyway, so the point is that with this boyfriend, being the young and naive person that I was, I somehow, with all my rebelliousness and
this was very surprising to me. Continue.
Yeah, like it quite doesn't match who I see myself as, even as a younger version of me. But somehow it was there.
Very cognitive dissonance moment.
The perception of like virginity and like only being with the one person for the rest of your life. And I had that very present with me on that first relationship. And then when that relationship, which became very toxic and it was a very bad relationship at some point, I broke out of that. And I started questioning a lot of things about sexuality and how I thought about it and how it made me feel and who I wanted to be and a bunch of things like that. And what I was telling you was that I made a very conscious decision that I wanted, like I knew what the virtuous, only one person, only in my life was like. And interestingly, like a sense of pride about it, which I'm like, anyway, I made a conscious decision to break out of that and explore and really see for myself what my sexuality could be like. And that in my 19, 20-year-old self was like, well, I guess that means that I'm going to go out with guys. And fortunately enough, I don't know, by matters of fate, I was moving for a few months somewhere else. And Like nobody knew me. I was there with a friend of mine, whom I live with. So I had some sort of like sense of being with a friend in this very like, I don't know anybody else. And I live here for a few months and I don't know what that is like.
Yeah.
But I met a bunch of friends and I had a really good time. But I really wanted to know what going out was, and more specifically, what having sex was like, other than that ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
So I went out, I had sex with guys, and it was very interesting. Like one of them was very like whatever, in the sense that it was like more of a one night stand, but like it was people that I knew through where I worked and things like that. Not random stranger that just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was still people that I saw on a regular basis, and I kind of got to know them, kind of like that. So one of them was very like, yeah, whatever. Like we kind of just had sex, and that was that. And there was no feelings of attachment or anything. It was just kind of like interesting, not even fun. It was just interesting, not bad, but just, you know. And then there was another guy who I actually like. I saw him more than once, and I started liking him. And I realized that I was having feelings for him, and I was like, I need to stop it, because I know for a fact that he doesn't feel this way about me. Like, yeah, the sex is fun and whatever, and it's enjoyable, but I have feelings for this person and they don't have feelings for me. So I need to stop this. And I actually had the need to go and talk to him about this and be like, I am having feelings for you. I need to stop seeing you. He was like, okay. And then there was this other guy who was very nice. We never quite became boyfriend and girlfriend, but it was just like we were a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and like we would see each other, we would go out, and we would like sleep over. But we both kind of knew that it wasn't going anywhere because I was leaving, and like it was never part of the conversation because we didn't need to be. So it was just fun to hang out with someone and to kind of get close to someone without really having it mean anything else other than that. And throughout this journey of discovery, you know, like I learned about myself. I made some mistakes as well. But, you know, what I was telling you was that I feel like it was important to me to have done it. And overall, throughout my life after, if you ask a version of me of that time, it's like, oh no, yeah, like I'm kind of glad that I did it, that I went through that, because then I kind of know myself better for it. And I went on to other relationships having known myself better and having gone through those experiences. But there are a couple of times just here and there, where if you had asked me, maybe I could have been like, oh, I kind of wish that I hadn't done it. But I feel like that comes from a place of shame that I don't actually need to have. And yeah, because then I feel like if I hadn't actually done it, just the experience, it's not even like, oh, I wish I just hadn't had sex with people that weren't my boyfriend, I guess. Like somehow I'd be better for it. But like I said, like I think that just comes from a place that's not real. That's not me and things like that. So overall, I'm just happy. I'm content, you know, that I did that and explore that part of me. And I think that was kind of what I was trying to tell you of, because I think it's because you brought up that I at some point I said that you should go out with the guys that you're not crazy about and that you don't have a crush on, because then you can actually do it as an experiment and do it for yourself and figure it out and go out. Because when you actually like someone, you kind of freeze and you don't do anything about it. So it's like, well, who are you going to go out with if you don't go out with the guys that you don't have a crush on, but then you also don't go out with the guys that you crush on? So it's like,
I'll die and my tombstone will be, she never went out with anybody.
Apparently, you know? So that was, I think that's where all of that story came from. Yeah, I guess just.
Yeah, and there was a bit of it somewhere there where I said, I have the reservation, I guess, of I don't want to. And that's something that there was a moment where I said, like, I don't know if I'm gonna, like, say, go out with this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna start having feelings for him because I can't detach the having sex with starting to have feelings for somebody. Like, that was the thing. And what I was how I was thinking about it was, it's different, but, like, it's different because the first time I had sex with a guy was also like a one-night stand situation, which of course is different because it was the first time, right? So that doesn't mean that then the next sort of one-night stand is going to be the same thing. Like, I'm going to remember it in the same way. But that was like a question that I had in my mind. And then there was this other thing that kind of takes from that, in which I was thinking of, I have said this, like, oh yes, go out with guys that I'm not so invested in, to just get it done, to just like make it more meh.
The thing that Pablo said of just fuck it.
Yeah, yes. Because in this sort of, and like in these narratives that we have of you wanting to, I think you said it in a very funny way, which is where I was like, oh my God, wow. Of like the putting a star on the virginity aspect of your relationship. And mine being more like, oh, the Prince Charming and who you're gonna be with forever. And so, because I do have that internal debate of like Prince Charming versus a more casual relationship where you're not like long-term invested, kind of like what you were saying with the Cancun. Well, I don't know if you said Cancun.
We didn't say Cancun, but I was in Cancun. So it was a lot of fun.
Yes. So there's that thing of, why do I want to be quote unquote wasting my time
with guys
that I'm not like looking forward to being with long term? And I know that it could be a good experience, like you can learn stuff and meet people and whatever, but there's actually right now, for example, a guy I do like that I would like to,
and he's cute.
He's cute, right? So why don't I ask him out? And I mean, I know why. It is scary. That is why. But then I guess like higher risk, higher reward. And otherwise, if I don't go out with anybody, like I don't go out with a low risk guy and I don't go out with a high risk guy, then
who do you go out with?
Nobody. My tombstone's gonna read, she never went out with anybody.
See, that's my point. But okay, so I was just wondering if, because of this thing that you have about Prince Charming and just kind of like, is it a waste of time? Like, why go for those guys? Do you feel like you can't have sex just for the fun of having sex?
I don't know, because I feel like there's a part of me where I feel like I know myself now. I don't know if enough. I mean, maybe that's kind of worth exploring in a way. Of like, I feel like if I have sex with a guy, I'm gonna start liking him. Like starting having feelings for him.
I mean,
you know? That's kind of like why my mind is like, don't go for somebody that you don't actually like, because we don't want to be caught in that bad thing of liking somebody that you don't really like.
Liking somebody that you don't really like, and you believe that you're going, because you had sex with them, you're going to form an attachment, even though you don't actually like them.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay. Go. Keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, I need to go back to that. But my point with the question was that there's this thing that was a big revelation for me about having sex. And it was that, like, I didn't know that sex could be fun. And that was a big deal for me, because not until my current relationship is what I mean.
Okay.
And what I mean is that before that, since that like first long-term relationship and then the Cancun guys and other relationships or whatever, like sex was a thing.
Yeah.
You know, that thing. Yesterday you were saying something along the lines of that, of like how you put sex in a pedestal. And again, we've been talking about the case against sexual revolution. So not completely throwing sex out of the pedestal, but maybe a shorter pedestal. I don't know. We can figure it out. But my point is that before this relationship I'm in right now, I didn't know that sex could be fun just as a fun activity. Okay, so like, it's not to say that I didn't know that, or that I hadn't experienced sex as pleasant, you know, or nice, or that I had never had an orgasm before, because I had, but it was just not fun.
I know what you mean.
And when I had fun having sex, when it wasn't just like because he's my boyfriend and we're making love, and it also wasn't just whatever meaningful thing I thought that sex was. It wasn't that. It was just fun to have sex. And like, of course, a lot of that has to do with my relationship with him and who we are and how we are and a lot of that. But it was like a revelation, like a discovery. Just that sex was fun just for the sake. And I feel like guys know this. I feel like I wonder if this is why they're so
they
obsessed.
know, and they've been hiding it.
Exactly. I wonder. Well, I don't think they've been hiding it. I just think they get all the fun and they don't share the fun. So so just this was a big thing for me. And before, sex just had such a big weight to it. Either it was like precious, or I was ashamed, or it was either horrible or it was too holy. You know, there was no just for the fun of it. Even in the whole like exploration of things with the Cancun guys, that's their new nickname, so that you know we're referring to them. Even that wasn't just fun. Like, so with Cancun guy number 1, I think I just learned that it didn't have to be anything. It, like, when you say that you believe that automatically by having sex with someone you're going to develop an attachment.
Okay, you make it sound like automatically, and it's not automatically.
Well, that was my point yesterday, of like, how much experience have you had to the point where you can say that it will happen?
I just feel like I'm too easy. Like, I fall too easily. So then,
but I feel like you've fallen for guys that you haven't had sex with.
Yeah, I know, which is messed up. It's like the whole opposite sort of. Yeah. See, I mean that because.
See, why worry about the ones that you do have sex with?
Because the feeling that I get is like a sort of attachment, like a kind of anxiety over it, of like when, like, am I gonna see him again? Are we gonna keep texting? Are we gonna keep talking? Like, it's in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Like uncertainty about it. I can't leave it alone. And I try, like, I keep telling myself to be chill about it. Like, but the feeling is like, am I gonna, like, is he gonna text me again? Is this like what's gonna
Because
happen?
it's high maintenance? Is your
Yeah,
anxiety?
I kind of feel like it does. Maybe it is not actually, but it feels high maintenance.
See, because it's the weight of sex.
Yes, exactly. Which I'm like,
See, so here's the thing. Part of me is very like just do it so that you get it over with. Mostly coming from my own experience of having done it and having this several realizations. But then again, another thing that I said yesterday, after the whole like think less, sex more, was this thing like,
we should put that on a t-shirt.
I know. Ooh, that's gonna be in our first line of merch.
Yes.
Less, sex more. With a warning though. Here's the thing. Because yes, we'll be talking about sex and everything, and part of me, as your friend, is very like, just go, just get it over, like it's this thing.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, a little bit of like, sex doesn't have to be precious. But then we've also been talking about the case against the sexual revolution, where there is, whether we want it or not, just in reality, in practicality, there is a preciousness to sex, right?
Yeah.
So then my warning was like, I know I'm saying all of these things, but if you actually don't want to, like, don't.
Yeah. That's kind of like after, this like texting thing and the wondering about it and all of that. And with these prior conversations that we've had over the last, as we've said, 5 episodes, that's the conclusion that I arrived to. Like, I would rather be brave and ask the guy that I do like to go out, like, for coffee or something, than to go to this guy's house and have probably mediocre sex.
I mean, you don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. Like, it might be better, right? Like, it might be the best thing in the world, right? I don't know. But, like,
but yeah,
I don't feel comfortable doing it.
Also, as a Mexican, I'm like,
exactly. The little Mexican brain is always like, don't be killed, don't be kidnapped, don't be.
Yeah, because it's that thing. Like, even in my experience, it's never been with a random person.
Exactly.
It's always been like friend of a friend or person that I see often, or like not someone from the bus.
Yeah.
Not
even Fleabag had sex with the bus guy,
Yeah, no? Yeah.
That is.
So that means that you're going to text the guy that you actually like.
I will. Should we do it now?
Really?
Should we do it now?
Oh my god, yes! Do it. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I can't believe she's doing this.
What should I say? Any suggestions?
I mean, I just ask him out for coffee. We're not ready for drinks yet.
No, we're not ready for drinks, but just coffee? Like that? Hey, do you want to have coffee with me sometime?
Sure.
Because I was thinking of saying, hey, I think you're cute. Do you want to have coffee? I don't know if saying what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I mean, by the time you can comment on this, I will have already sent the text. Exactly. But feedback, it's always good.
Yes, exactly. I kind of want to go with the just, hey, do you want to have coffee? And see how that goes. And then if you feel the vibe, you can tell him that you think that he's cute.
Have coffee with me sometime?
She's doing it.
Like that? Yeah?
Oh, yes! Oh my goodness!
It's Vincent.
Oh my gosh, you did it.
I didn't.
We're so proud. Very well. So, yeah, I feel like I really like the conversations we've been having. I know, can you believe it?
I know.
The power of the camera.
Yes.
It's amazing
what
what
people
you'll
do
do.
for the likes, apparently.
That's
what
hilarious.
have I become?
Well, we'll just keep you posted on what happens with the crush. Very well.
Yes.
But what I was saying is just I like the conversations we've been having, and I thought it was really funny when you told me when you were editing that first episode that we kind of said opposite things.
Yeah,
in one
that was
episode
very
and another.
interesting. We learned,
especially
we grew.
Well, that's the thing. I think that from what I can remember right now, first episode versus so it's like sex rooms versus against sexual revolution kind of thing. That's what we can remember spectrum. Right now. Exactly. And I feel like sex rooms was it was sex rooms and Jubilee, like
the sex
porn
worker.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that was very on the pro-sexual liberation. Yeah. And then I thought it was very interesting. Just, I guess part of me was like, oh, are we kind of not having a real opinion, and it just kind of depends on what we watched that week. But on the other hand, which is why I wanted to do this conclusion episode.
Roundup.
Exactly. I feel like it was it's that thing. I think, okay, so here's the gist of it. A lot of what we talk about in A Cup of Tea in general is very much just like you and me having a random conversation.
Yes.
Right? Just our thoughts and our feelings coming from our perspectives, very narrow. And I said something, I don't know if it was in the last episode, somewhere I said something about, I think 99% of women feel this way. And when I saw it in the edit, I was like,
do I?
What are you doing, Mika? What are you doing? What are you saying right now? But again, I hope that our audience, the person watching this right now, understands that what we are saying has to be taken with a grain of salt. Yeah. Has to be understood where it's coming from. And it's coming from, not from research, not from articles, not from like you as a communicologist and not me as a psychologist. It's just coming from like two Mexican white middle class women, immigrants, you know, like just from our context. And we understand that might not be the context of other people. In fact, it's like the context of a very small, what's small anyway, but a certain percentage of people. Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I feel like that's even the reason why we always jokingly, right, start, I mean, that's the line of like sharing life through each other's eyes. Because that's the thing of like, it is just the two of us talking. Yeah. And sort of like, I feel like, because we always want to keep learning more. So that's why, in a way, I see a lot of value in maybe 5 episodes ago, we said this dumb thing, but now we read other things that have changed our mind, or that
not
maybe
even dumb, but
like, I mean, the same. I feel like we keep informing our opinions. Yeah. Every time. So that will lead to our mind changing over time, which is, you know, like, it's wise people change their mind.
Exactly. Yes, yeah, and just like in this context, just because we've been doing an ongoing thing with the sex stuff, the sex talk, I like as a conclusion of where I am right now. I think I was telling you yesterday how I feel like I would have appreciated being more on against sexual revolution when I was younger and I made mistakes. Yeah. And the thing that I said yesterday to you that I hadn't said is only to Pablo in a very, very vulnerable conversation was that I have had sex many times where I didn't want to have sex. And it was very interesting to say that to you because it was coming from like a very, I don't want anything bad to happen to you the way it happened to me.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where, at least again in our context, I hear friends of mine, best friends of mine, just girls around me, especially in the Mexico context,
Yeah.
where it's like we've been through so much shit as women in Mexico, where it's like there's not, and I think I can say this, there's not one woman that I personally know of, even as an acquaintance, I think, that would tell me that they haven't gone through something.
Creepy. Or unpleasant, or
just sexually messed up. Or not even sexually, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it doesn't have to be, like, you don't need to be having sex or on the brink of it doesn't need to be that. It can be just an awkward, uncomfortable interaction with a guy that is gross. And you feel gross about it.
Yeah. So, or, like it can be just being scared for your life.
Yes.
On a random day on your way to work. So,
yeah.
I think that is the context of the majority of Mexican women.
Yeah.
So, I found it kind of, if there was I guess the feeling, is sorority, can it be a feeling?
Yeah. I guess like sisterhood. It means like, yeah, sisterhood.
Yeah, just kind of like it's very interesting yesterday. But I was feeling kind of that of like, from my experience and my hurt and having to learn that, first of all, having to look back at myself who did that, because it's that thing of like a lot of the emotion and the shame, the messed upness of that was the fact that I consented.
Yeah.
That's the part that kind of messes me up, where it's like I didn't say no. But then again, that was something that really touched me when we were talking about the Against Sexual Revolution, where she's saying like it's not just consent. It's not just that that they didn't say no.
Say no.
There has to be more than that.
Yeah, like yeah.
And she talks about respect and gentlemanliness and the morally right thing to do. And that's where I said, unless it's an absolute yes, like take me now, it's a no. And that might be a little of an overreaction, but kind of. I still think if it's not like yes, take me now.
I mean, yes, take me now. Like, yeah, that's who wouldn't want that?
Exactly. That's when you are for sure, as a guy, that she wants you. Doesn't count if she's drunk or high. But anyway, so because it came from a quote unquote consent, but then it made me feel bad and I actually didn't want to do it, and it happened so many times, then like that was the one of the hardest thing in this like mini journey that I'm talking about, of like looking back at myself and realizing that I did that, or that happened to me in one way or another, where now, hoping that I am more mature and a little healed from all of that, and after talking it out and having that very vulnerable conversation with my partner, to the point where I could say it to you in a very like, I hope you don't go through this. And I said that, and I told you, if you do at any point go out with a guy, and I said, I don't know if this is a thing that happens to you, but it for sure is a thing that happened to me, where if I wasn't sure, and it made me very happy in this conversation today, where at some point you said, oh no, my default is to say no. My default was to say yes. And that comes from very messed up things. But now I know, like, again, like I saw it hurt me, and I'm kind of more on the healing side now. But one, I wanted to tell you as your friend and someone that like cares about you and everything. Just like if you ever go out and you feel like you put yourself in this position, you're there and you're whatever, like just say no. Just run for your life. Just don't do it. And then you were like no, like I know that I can say no. And I was like, I'm very glad that you can say no. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh,
I think that was part of like my whole conclusion thing about this.
Yeah.
Because for a moment I was like, I don't know where this came from, but here you go. But yeah, I think it was just part of my whole conclusion about talking about all of these things throughout these episodes, and how I think we are the better for it.
Yeah.
Like you and me personally, and like our friendship and
Mhm.
whatever, just talking about things, because that's what we do here.
Yeah.
And
We do talk a lot.
when you were saying this thing about how, like, yes, a cup of tea is about seeing life through each other's eyes and it's just you and me, I also think, and at the risk of people yelling at us on the internet whenever people start commenting more on our episodes, I think we would be very appreciative of people commenting and telling us like, oh, like I see that was your guys's feelings or experiences, and you said 99% of women feel this way. That's what Mika said. And be like, I don't feel like that. This other thing happened to me. And I think we would be very like appreciative and welcoming of,
tell us more.
Yeah, I think part of sharing it, because again, you and me used to have these conversations without a camera.
Yes.
Right? And then at some point we were like, maybe we should just record it, you know? And see what happens.
Yeah.
So I think part of the decision of sharing all of these talks, when they come just from, again, our very narrow perspective of the world, is to get to know more through you.
I agree. I do like that this, I mean, I feel like in a way, a cup of tea, yes, is like us having conversations that we normally have.
Just you.
Just, yeah. And now we save them for you.
That's how much we care about you.
Yes. But I do like, I think two things. So one is this like for full circle thing that we're trying to do of seeing how we started this section
Sex
series,
talk series, yes,
and how we're ending it with a sort of refreshed perspective and with questioning what we thought and learning more about stuff. And I feel like the questioning aspect of it is really central to it, because in general, I think that we tend to, as like in the way that you and I are as people, like question ourselves a lot, and we're always like, I mean, I think this, but am I right? Is there another way to approach it? Like, should we do better? And so I think we did better. And then in the other one, because I have this feeling in general, like when we talk, I think it is increased a little bit by a cup of tea being more of as a formal thing. And I know that there's times when like there's things that we still like have conversations when we're off camera and it's just us, right? But in this space that we've created for ourselves, I find sometimes that we say stuff in different ways. Or like,
how do you mean?
I've noticed a couple times, and this time has been specifically one of those where, I don't know, I feel like we go beyond stuff that we normally say. Like, I remember some time, ages ago, when I told you something like, oh, I feel like, this happens a lot in movies and in series and shows of friends talking about sex, but we don't do that. And so we kind of started doing it, but it was like meh. And so I feel like this one time this has meant now, like, we're having these conversations that, of course, they're triggered by things that are happening. So, like, they prompt us into talking about it. But I don't know. So it's like a cool feeling of sharing more, like, in a different way, of being more, I don't know if open necessarily. But yeah, I don't know. Talking about more stuff that is important to us. But that
Yeah, I
sometimes we
think there's
don't do.
I think there's more of a like attention to what goes on in our lives
Yeah.
and what our thoughts about those things are, and then there's more intention of discussing them,
Yes. And this.
which I appreciate.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And since this is a space built on the honesty policy, right? Yeah, I just think, I mean, I like that. I feel like this built on that. Just as a thing that for us, like, in our friendship. And then if this is cool for somebody else that is listening to us and can relate or can learn something with us, or can teach us something, like what you were saying of, no, share your experience. Tell us that maybe we're wrong. We should be thinking about this in a different way. Yes, this has been a nice sex series.
Yeah, I liked it.
Me too.
Very well. We'll keep you posted on the guy.
Yes, we will. And to wrap up, our recommendation for today.
Oh my God, this has nothing to do with sex. I mean, kind of talks about it. He said something. Oh my God, the thing that it was okay. So, Bert Kreischer's The Machine has a new special, Razzle Dazzle.
Yes.
And Pablo and I love him. We think it's hilarious. And the water didn't know him.
No.
So we watch Razzle Dazzle together.
Yeah.
We watch Razzle Dazzle together, and now she loves him.
Yes.
And she's watching it.
Yeah.
And just now when we were setting up, we were watching like The Machine special because she hadn't seen it.
I'm like going backwards.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Apparently.
I think you're missing one or two.
Yeah, I'm the first one, I guess, or the first two.
And so in The Machine, he says something about his wife Leanne and how like, can you stop being my wife and just be a whore for 5 minutes? So there is some sex in there. But yeah, so our recommendation is just, if you haven't seen, well, my recommendation is Razzle Dazzle. If you haven't seen Razzle Dazzle, watch it. Yeah, I think right now is my favorite special.
I'm missing two. Right now, that is not on Wikipedia. So there's the specials on Wikipedia are Comfortably Dumb, The Machine, which we just saw. Secret Time, the one that is my recommendation, Hey Big Boy.
That one's also good.
And Razzle Dazzle.
My good Razzle Dazzle. So yeah, just if you don't know him, if you haven't seen it, or if you do know him, you haven't seen Razzle Dazzle or Hey Big Boy, or you've seen them a while ago, just rewatch them just for fun because they're so good.
The bag of rice is hilarious. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Well, this has been lovely.
It has indeed. Join us for another cup of tea next week.
Okay, bye.
Oh, nice. Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us.
To watch more episodes of A Cup of Tea, click the link on the right. If you want to watch Pockets in the Universe, go to the playlist on the left.